even by the already impossibly degraded standards, the last 48 hours of Donald Trump's pronouncements have been disturbing and dangerous. It started yesterday during a bizarre address about autism, Tylenol, and vaccines.
Effective immediately, the FDA will be notifying physicians that the use of let's see how we say that. Acetaminophen. Is that okay? Which is basically commonly known as Tylenol during pregnancy, can be associated with a very increased risk of autism. We want no mercury in the vaccine. We want no aluminum in the vaccine. The MMR, I think, should be taken separately. This is based on what I feel the mumps, measles, and all the three should be taken separately. Don't let them pump your baby up with the largest pile of stuff you've ever seen in your life going into the delicate little body of a baby.
This was all nonsense, and that's the most charitable word I could use. I mean, vaccines do not cause autism. This has been established at peer review after peer review after peer review over decades. It's been studied. There is no established link between Tylenol and autism either, certainly not the very elevated risk he talked about. But Trump didn't stop there. He absolutely flew off the rails during his speech at the UN today. Admittedly, the day got off to a bad start.
The President and the First Lady, Dana, have just walked in right on time, I would say. Right on cue.
Yeah, they're a couple minutes ahead of schedule, and, you know, we love that punctuality.
Yes.
And the First Lady also going to address the UN as well as she arrives with her husband, and they go up the escalator this time.
So I heard a few questions being shouted there, but no responses. Stand by. I don't know if there's audio on that or not.
Chuck Schumer.
Okay, I heard the end. That was Chuck Schumer, and there's a reason for that.
Slight escalator mishap. For what it's worth, a UN official told the AP that Trump's own party was responsible for Escalator Gate. That did not stop the president from grousing about it and many other topics in front of the whole world.
All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. We both stood. And then a teleprompter that didn't work. These are the two things I got from the United Nations, a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter. Many years ago, a very successful real estate developer in New York, known as Donald J. Trump, I bid on the renovation and rebuilding of this very United Nations complex. I remember it so well. I said at the time that I would do it for $500 million, rebuilding everything. It would be beautiful. I used to talk about, I'm going to give you marble floors. They're going to give you terrazzo. I'm going to give you the best of everything. You're going to have mahogany walls. They're going to give you plastic. But they decided to go in another direction. You walk on terrazzo. Do you notice that? And I'm really good at predicting things, you know. They actually said during the campaign they had a hat, the best-selling hat. Trump was right about everything. And I don't say that in a braggadocious way, but it's true. I've been right about everything. And I'm telling you that if you don't get away from the green energy scam, your country is going to fail. It's time to end the failed experiment of open borders. You have to end it now. See, I can tell you. I'm really good at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell.
That was just a sample of the hour of ramblings by our 79-year-old president today. Coming up next, Senator Mark Kelly joins me live on set. Don't go away. Today, Donald Trump addressed the UN General Assembly. His speech went on for almost an hour, nearly 4 times what he was allotted. And it was very familiar in many ways, just sort of like his free association riff stuff. It included a very shrewd audition for the Nobel Peace Prize.
I ended 7 wars, and in all cases, they were raging with countless thousands of people being killed. This includes Cambodia and Thailand, Kosovo and Serbia, the Congo and Rwanda, a vicious, violent war that was, Pakistan and India, Israel and Iran, Egypt and Ethiopia, and Armenia and Azerbaijan. Everyone says that I should get the Nobel Peace Prize for each one of these achievements. What I care about is not winning prizes, it's saving lives.
Senator Mark Kelly is a Democrat of Arizona. He serves on the Armed Services Committee. He's here in New York during this UN General Assembly week. He joins me on set. Good to have you here.
Good to be here.
I mean, at a certain point, you'll run out of adjectives to describe the rhetoric of the President of the United States, but your response to the speech today?
Well, he's adding more countries every day.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's because, he said before the election that he was going to end the war in Ukraine and Gaza on day one. Unrealistic. And it seems like he's insecure about this, not being able to accomplish what he promised. I think folks have to just stop listening to him. I think that I feel really bad about having to say that. Or maybe we just give him a medal. Remember at the end of The Wizard of Oz?
He really wants one.
The end of The Wizard of Oz, the wizard gave the lion a medal. I think that's the point.
I think if you could do a Truman Show Nobel Peace Prize sort of thing for him, he would be extremely excited about it. But that point you made, I want to ask you about these two conflicts. One is today he came out seeming to sort of oscillate back towards Ukraine, and maybe they can get all their territory back and now open again to sanctions. Now, again, people talk this 180, but part of the thing with him is this inconstancy means you never know if that, whether that's going to last. Where do you see our role in that conflict right now?
Well, I think we still need to support our ally, Ukraine, help them. We used to give them. Now it's done through European nations, selling them the equipment they need to defend themselves. The war has changed dramatically. I sit on the Armed Services and the Intelligence Committee. In the beginning of that war was a lot of artillery, exchange of artillery fire. That's where some ground would be made or lost. That is now FPV, first-person drone warfare, which has really changed what ground combat looks like certainly in Europe. We have to continue to support them. It's also not realistic, what the president said today. I think he even said something about maybe Ukraine would gain some Russian territory.
Yes, he said maybe they'll get past their borders.
Talk about a 180. You're talking about a 180, and then let's go 100 yards down the field. This war can end when it gets really uncomfortable for Putin, when he is affected financially. If we could stop the purchase of oil by China, India, Brazil, that adds up to a lot of revenue. There's legislation to do that. We could put more pressure on the Russians. It's interesting, I think the tariff rate on Russia right now is 10%.
Yeah.
Now, we don't buy a lot.
Yeah, there's not a lot of
stuff there, but just as a symbolic, measure, we could raise the tariff on Russia, demonstrate that we are serious about this. Ultimately, I think it's going to be financial pressure on Putin, on his government, so he can't continue to fund this war machine. Putin has established himself as a war criminal. I hope to one day see him in prison, somewhere. Every day he is killing more innocent women, children, old people intentionally. And I have a meeting tomorrow with President Zelensky. Hopefully we get some news from him about the meeting he had, with Donald Trump, and maybe we can move this thing in the right direction.
You mentioned the two wars he said he would end on day one, Russia, Ukraine, Israel, and Hamas and Gaza. The latter shows no signs of ending. There's including ex-hostages who are in New York this week advocating for some sort of diplomatic end. The Netanyahu government seems to be pretty clear they don't want that.
No.
And this will just go on. And then after that, maybe the voluntary exodus of 2 million Gazans after tens of thousands have been killed. European allies are saying they're going to recognize a Palestinian state as pressure. Should the U.S. do that as well?
I have been supportive and still support a two-state solution to this. You're right about President or Prime Minister Netanyahu. He is not taking the necessary steps to see this come to some kind of conclusion. He's actually been making it harder. I've met with him a number of times, starting out a week after October 7th, but then on at least one more occasion. And, he says things in private. It's different than he says in public. It's not consistent with the actions he's taking. And because of that, women and children are dying. Kids are starving. We have to do more to support the humanitarian crisis that's going on. Just an hour ago, I was with Cindy McCain here in New York talking about the challenges that she faces.
She's been very outspoken, too. Yeah.
It is incredibly hard. She has the last, not in this conversation, but a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to her, and she says she has about 2 feeding stations. She needs 200. The Prime Minister says he's going to help her with that. They don't get the help they need to be able to feed more kids. But she's also dealing with fewer resources. Yeah. Her budget is down 40%, partly due to the cuts in USAID. We used to send the World Food Program more money. When we cut it, other countries started pulling back.
Well, and there was never a vote on that, and then there was a vote in a rescission package.
Right.
Which brings me to this question about a shutdown. The president set up a meeting with Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer to talk about working out a government funding bill. He then canceled it and posted a screed that was sort of indistinguishable from like the UN's, like from all
typical.
Of them. Yeah. You know, a lot of people are looking at the Democrats and saying, like, how can you do a deal with this administration that's acting so lawlessly and so destructively towards the basic fabric of the republic, and also reserving the right to just not listen to what Congress tells them about appropriations?
It's a tough spot to be in. I've got to be perfectly honest with you about that. We could make a deal with him. He could renege on the deal. He could rescind more money. And this fight right now, this month, about this shutdown is over how much the American people are going to pay for their health care. That's all this is about. The president is saying no. We're trying to provide some help because their costs are going to skyrocket here this fall. If people get their health care on the Affordable Care Act exchange, those premiums are going up dramatically. Folks are going to get kicked off of Medicaid. You know, that's post 2026 probably, but you're going to start to see rural hospitals closing. We're fighting to keep those rural hospitals open, keep health care costs down. And the president of the United States is not only saying no, now he's saying he doesn't even want to discuss it. This is the guy who claims he wrote the book, The Art of the Deal. Master negotiator, doesn't even want to have the meeting.
Senator Mark Kelly, it's great to have you here. Come back anytime. I wish we had more time, but I really appreciate talking to you.
Thank you.